Hi everyone and welcome to our latest video, and today we have 5 tips that are really going to help your compositions and that may seem quite basic but often are forgotten and really do help your compositions and your images really get to that next level. Now, composition is a super extensive topic and I could talk about Fibonacci sequences, golden ratio, all these endless pyramid structures, all these endless elements and how they compose an image. I'm not going to be talking much about that. I'm going to be talking about the simple things that really make an image. If your composition is strong enough, it's halfway there to be apprehended by the client, to really be selected and to really create the strong images, which many people say, you know, my client's never going to choose that image. He doesn't want that. Well, many times if you do get it right and you do get that underlying feeling through composition and all the other things, of course, you can really get your image selected. And thank you to everyone for watching this video, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, comment below what you think, what really helps you in terms of composition and any tips you want to share. And yeah, let's get on with this. So here we are, guys, and tip number 1, know your concept before you create. Now this may seem kind of contradictory because it is a composition tutorial, right? But I find that knowing your concept can be one of the most important things in actually creating a piece. I tend to commit this a lot, where I sometimes just want to create something out of nothing really, where I just want to exercise, and that's all valid. But when I'm really creating a piece that I want to put my heart into it, that takes a little more time, I try and find a concept or a story that really is going to guide me in my compositional process. It really helps because I can set cameras for a specific scene, for the intent that I want to create in that scene. If I want it to be more dramatic, if maybe it's a wider lens, if I want it to be more about the composition of the building up against the sky and be something more formalistic and just very simplified negative space and form, I'll create a longer camera. So really understanding how those elements of story interact with your image is great, and a great way to start. I think some of the greatest artists of all time, if you look through history and even through up until our days really, if you see, they're also some of the best storytellers. And one of the pieces that I really recommend, and it's going to be so much more informative than what I'm telling you, one video which is linked below, which is about how to interpret a painting, how to look at a painting. The painting is Death of Socrates, and if you really understand how this painting is broken down into this beautiful story, and you understand the composition, how it all integrates, I think that's where the magic really happens in a piece. Even if you look at other artists like Hieronymus Bosch, and just how his images are just full of stories and just full of compositional stories that really tell the world. If you look at Sid Mead, if you look at Sparth, all the way up until Beeple in this day and age, and you really see Beeple, especially how he is talking about all these satires and really critical images, you'll see that just how important the story is. And you start to think sometimes, are they actually starting with a story, or are they starting by blocking out these characters and seeing what comes to mind? So it's a really interesting thing when you have this and you can be guided by it. But you do really feel that having that line at the end of the road, the line that you can follow, is really going to direct where you're going to place all these elements. So my second tip is to keep it simple. Narrow down the complexity of what you're using and the various elements you're using. And one of the best things I can recommend for that is just keeping, much like a photographer, a fixed lens. A fixed lens enables you, just like a photographer, to go around, navigate the space you're in, and to really understand what is the angle that functions the best. Now, you don't even change the light here. Again, a photographer, what he'll do, he'll probably find a really nice angle that works, and he'll wait for that exact correct moment. And that's what we're kind of trying to do. We're kind of trying to work out what works for us in terms of angles. What can we do and what relates to our story? Always keeping that in mind, that the story is super important and it does relate. So again, if we're going for something, it could be the story of this entrance and how this is opening time, and we could have some people here on the left really coming in. It could be the whole story of how this relates to the environment that it's in, that it's kind of located in a forest. As you can see, all I am doing is just navigating around with a fixed lens. If I do change that lens and I go to something a bit wider, let's say I'm going to go to a focal length, let's say 20 mil, and we can really start seeing something that's much more dynamic, something that really is kind of emphasizing this entrance and emphasizing the grandeur of this entryway. As you can see, again, a camera can have such an effect. Let's take that down to 35 mil, and you can see just how much that changes, and where it's now a much more formally composed shot and doesn't have so much that concept art focus, but more something so dramatic. Tip number 3, use additional elements to help your composition. Now, I think many of you have probably heard about creating directive lines, which your eye follows, negative spaces where your eye can rest and where it can take a break, and all these various elements to help your composition. But there are a few very simple ones which you can use, which really help out in the process. Now, one of those important elements is lighting. Lighting can bring so much to an image. Just adding light to something that it has complete darkness can be an amazing experience and can make for a very dramatic image. So just changing around the lighting of your image will really make it stand out, will really make it pop and give it a totally different dimension, as you can see. One of the other elements we can use to really make an impact is fog. That's really going to help in reducing or amplifying what we want to see. Now, as you can see, even in this image, we've got the trees and we've got the mountains, which we wanted to get a little bit of that light streaming along the mountain, and also the light really hitting the building to show its importance and the opening kind of sun rising type of effect. Now, once we introduce our fog layer, and let me just unhide all and just kind of bring out that fog, you'll see that I can really sit this back and really start to make all those elements very quickly and simply come together and really help in distancing things and making the eye really perceive what's going on. So as you can see, that's already helped really push it back. Now let's try a few different settings to see how this can really affect our scene. Elements like people, trees, and cars are also great. They really help in shaping not only the world that we inhabit, but they also really help in directing the eye and where it should go. And really those big forms and how close they are to the camera can also serve as a vignette for a person. They can serve as a vignette for a tree that really kind of is something you're seeing through the woods and the meadows. And it's all about this small glimpse of light which is hitting through the tree canopy. Tip number 4, trust your gut instinct. Do not follow composition rules to a T. We've all seen the rule of thirds, the golden ratio. Sometimes an image works and you don't quite know why. And that's something innate within you that understands the beauty of the world, that understands how things function on a different level. And sometimes you know something's not right, but you really like the image and it's just something that's off. And sometimes it's just a question of trying a different crop, flipping the canvas, desaturating your colors around, really getting those few elements that really help guide your eye and help the image really stand to life. Try new points of view. I mean, how many times do I just see matte paintings with horizon line at the end and just some stuff in the foreground and some layering of things? I mean, try adjusting your camera, try rotating it, try different things that you don't usually do. And these things are really going to help you not only create different compositions, but also really heighten your stories and really bring them to life. I also like to give a shout out to my friend Nikos, whose webpage is all about creative lighting. And he's kind of been on this for a while, using lighting to create his compositions. And do check it out. It's all about how he uses light to really bring out these different aspects of spaces, of interiors, and how he really transforms the whole space with lighting. Tip number 5, do it in post. Doing it in post, as much as we kind of hashtag it and do all this funny stuff around it, Do it in post. Yeah, don't forget.
Do it in post.
Doing it in post really helps. Sometimes it's super quick to really understand something. If you're adding depth, if you're wanting to bring out some certain elements, if you want to push some elements back, if you want to bring to the front, all these are very simple things that you can do to really understand your compositions and really bring them to life. And I can't say this enough. Post-production is one of the easiest ways. I mean, you can do this in 3D, you can do all these types of things. I know there are many people who defend that. It's whatever is best for you at the end of the day. But post-production really, just with simple techniques, you don't need to know how to draw. You don't need to be an ace at drawing. You don't need to be an ace at painting, but you can really, just with a few simple techniques, push your eye into the right focus, guide your viewer's eye, and really make a great composition.